What's up, guys? HD here, bringing some news going around the league right now. We've had a bit of a interesting week, very entertaining, that's for sure. Um, we're gonna go right into it, not waste any time. We're gonna start with tanking. If you don't know what tanking is, it's losing on purpose to get a better draft pick to better your position to get better players. Background of the story: PML's been having trouble with guys tanking supposedly, and there's more than four teams being investigated, and we actually went and talked to four of those teams, four of those possible teams, because I don't know who the teams are. Top 10 picks were Chase Young, AJ Epinesa, Tua Tagovailoa, Andrew Thomas, Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris, Dylan Moses, Alex Leatherwood, Grant Delpit, and T. Higgins. Um, the four teams that we're talking to, their players are on this list, obviously, but they're not the top four picks or anything like that. They're kind of scattered, obviously, because other people did play bad last year, truly, and they didn't have to tank for a better position. Suspect number one, this team's playing way better than they did last year. They're not crazy good right now, but it's definitely significant to how they're playing, which should say a lot because they're not undefeated or anything right now through 4 weeks. Um, they got a superstar player out of it, and things just happened to turn around. So we went ahead and talked to them. Just asked him if he had a statement or anything on what's going on with his assumptions and ongoing investigation. Claims no one's talked to him yet, no one's reached out or asked him any questions. He had a bad season due to quarterback play and the inability to win in the fourth quarter. He says that his QB play has improved. He's knocked off some of the rust, so it sounds like he's practicing more. You can see in his games this year he's still having those fourth quarter problems. So he's saying there's still some similarities to what was going on. At the bottom, he claims he could have won a few more games and still had the same pick. So there would have been no point in losing so many games. I asked him what his thoughts were on possibly losing the player or losing their superstar dev trait. He thinks it'd be an overreaction. He had a bad season, forcing him to play without that player or hurting his development will just ensure he's got another bad season. He doesn't think the player he took was good enough, and he didn't even take him at number one. So this guy didn't have the first pick. He could have won more games, as I said, still had the same pick, so that's good for him. He would have hit it better. I don't know if I'd have said that, because you just don't talk about or think about tanking in general. And he doesn't think the guy he took was even good enough to tank for. So some of this stuff could help him. Depends what the commissioners decide. Next, we're going to head over to New York. We've got the Jets. Obvious reasons. They ended up with one of the best players. They're undefeated right now, including the AFC East division winner last year. He just defeated him. He's got 3 blowouts before that. And he finished 3-12-1 this season after averaging 11-12 wins the last 3 years. So that drop-off's very significant to just have a bad year. The Jets' defense to this is that he did content, so that improved his team, which made his gameplay better. I don't know. Apparently, CPU's playing games for him. That's all I got from that. And he's referring back to season 1 last year. He claims he only had 2 wins. As you can see, here's Chase Young, 6'5", 270, superstar dev trait. That's huge because he could lose that if found guilty or even be suspended. You can see his finesse moves very high, his block rating is very high, and his speed is very good for an outside linebacker. Hit power's there, his pursuit's there. This guy's tank worthy. So, along with those other things that I stated a few seconds ago, there's a good reason to believe that he did this. We're going to go ahead and look at last year's schedule. To me, the beginning, yeah, it could be a rough start. First 3 games were kind of rough. You got 3 good opponents, then bye week, and then you drop, and you come out immediately to the NFC East. Probably third best division. It's that week 11 tie where I think he truly starts to tank, because he just drops off. I know he's as good as Kurt. He's as good as Polar. He shouldn't be getting blown out like this. He's losing to users he should not be losing to, and it's just so obvious. And look at the difference between Week 17 and Week 1 against the Bills. Rob will never blow out Bacon, ever. So we're going to take a look at this year. Like I said, we got 3 blowouts. Yes, it's against a weak opponent. Maybe that'll help him. Hey, I'm only 4-0 because I played well against the Dolphins, and I got the NFC West, which is the worst division. When we went to go interview him, he actually had no comment, so I think that kind of hurts him. We're going to move on to suspect number 3, the Packers. They had the 2nd overall pick. They went 3-13. He was one of our better users as the Chargers in PML 19. I think it was season 4 or 5, but for sure 5. He had 11 wins. He was really, really good. And this year, he's playing guys like he was playing PML 19. CEO, he just gave him a run for his money. He's 2-1. So he's playing very, very well compared to what he was last year. So I asked him again, what are his thoughts on what's going on? He thinks it's laughable. It's just a joke. He's beaten 2 mediocre teams. One was the Cardinals. I don't remember who the other one was. He thinks it just took him a little longer to get used to his team and finding out what he can do for that. And he just happened to lose along the way. This is the question we've all been asking since the draft. What was going on in that Packers war room at pick 2 when they took AJ Epinesa with Jerry Jeudy on the board, Del Pitts on the board, Tua's on the board? What was going on? So Chase Young went first. He says that kind of threw the room apart, and there was a mix-up between Jeudy and AJ. So you can get Jerry Jeudy and help A-Rod right now, or you can toughen up that defense that hasn't really been focused on the last few years. I don't think this was the right pick at all. I think Jerry Jeudy's actually superstar X Factor, so we'll see what goes on here. I don't think losing him would make a difference. Maybe suspend another player or so, but taking Epinesa away is not going to hurt him. Suspect number 4, keep him anonymous just like number 1. This is a complete turnaround than how he was playing. It's way too obvious. His struggles aren't there. The interceptions, the turnovers, the bad defense, the bad offensive play calls. It's not there. So we interviewed him as well. Asked him about his thoughts on it. He says they're not true, and he's confident that it will be obvious that we will find nothing about it. Asked him what he thought about losing his player or the dev trait. He's not worried about it at all. Simple as that. He's not worried about it. Any of these guys can be suspended, lose something. It all depends on what commissioners come up with. But while this is all going on or being investigated, Week 4 had a nice little ruffling, I guess. And we're going to move on to running up the score. Things about it, it's unsportsmanlike. Considering running up the scores, big passing plays while up 21 points without shoot clock and you still have your starters in. Continuing to score, throwing at the end zone or attempting to score, stat padding, so breaking records, just getting your guys a bunch of XP and at least a suspension, possibly getting booted if you do it enough. So the game was the Cardinals and the Bills. As you see, Josh Allen threw for 7 touchdowns in this game. I believe a lot of those came in the garbage time when it was already over. It was already a blowout, so looked to get him suspended. We don't know yet. I'm sure it will be. It's normally your best player. As you can see, the Cardinals didn't even have their quarterback out there or anything. He's a 2K guy. He doesn't even really play man. He's in the weaker division. So we're going to go on and show he's in the weaker division. He's 1-3 and he's still winning his division, and the Bills are 4-0. So as you can already see, there's a big gap there. Here we actually have the plays that show us he was running up the score and he was doing things he shouldn't have. So let's take a look at him. So right here, 38-14, 7 minutes in the third quarter. He should be chewing clock. Starters shouldn't really be in or be doing big plays like that. So as you can see, he's looking for the big play. He didn't get it, but it's the fact that he came out in shotgun and ran verticals. You don't do that. You're up by so much, you know. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next one. It looks like it's probably the same drive, same score. 6 minutes in the third. We're going to see what happens here. So he's coming out in the pistol. I would assume he's running here, you know, obviously with this situation. He hot rodded, he calls hike. Oh my gosh. He notices the cover 2 and throws a 34-yard bomb for a touchdown. It's just not good. Not good. Next one. A little later, fourth quarter, 3.5 minutes left, 52-17. Should be running out the clock. These starters should not be in at any point this second half. All the starters are still in. Another post in cover 2. He's even hot routing. Wow. That's just what you don't do. Now this last one's this one's bad. There's a minute left. He's finally chewing clock. He's kneeling it. Alright, so he takes his kneel. Arizona calls timeout. They probably want to get, you know, some offense in. They probably want to get Jerry Jeudy some points, something. You know, they just want to get the ball back. They're getting blown up. The least you could do is give them some points. And they come out in bunch formation. Shotgun bunch. Motions out and calls verticals again. And bombs it to the end zone with 1 minute left. Up 42 points. And then he's going to take the points. He's about to come out and kick points to go up he's going to go up 62-17 for the final with a minute left. And after this, he pooch kicked the kickoff. So he didn't even allow him to take a kickoff return. Again, just being a complete, you know. So, all those commissioners seen them. Commissioners probably got more on that. I'm sure somebody's watched the game themselves to see other things. We're going to go ahead and see what's going on. And Josh Allen is actually in New York, probably to get suspended. So that's huge right there. Don't know how long. Very possible the Bills lose their quarterback if they don't win their appeal. So we caught up with the Cardinals. Asked him about his game with the Bills. He says that it's a sad situation. He's relatively new to the sim style. Again, this guy is a 2K guy. Sim style is just replicating real life. Just do things that they would do there. You're not breaking AI or nothing like that. He says he does his best to make sure that he mixes up his play calling. He doesn't exploit the AI. His concepts are different. His formations are different. All that other stuff. Basically here, I know it's a lot. Nobody wants to really, read it all, but he's basically saying that he's over it right now. It is what it is, but it's over with. They're focused on the next game. He doesn't have as much experience as others, and people bring passion and desire every game. So we're to move on. Continued. It's tempting to leave the league, so he doesn't even want to really be here right now. He's like, it was rude, disrespectful. You just don't do it. He's saying people have reached out. There's been words of encouragement from coaches, staff. Players are going to talk to the vets to talk about what's going on. He mentions their QB being out still. They got the Patriots next week, so that's what they're really focused on. I asked him if there was any disrespect. If he felt like there's any disrespect, he said he wasn't sure until that that kickoff with 1 minute left in the fourth, and he squib kicked it, so he couldn't get a return or anything. So we go on. Does he feel like that this is a reoccurring issue? Is running up the score a problem in PML? Running up the score is not something he'd call a reoccurring issue. There's a known skill gap. Being up 45 points with less than 2 minutes to go, kicking a squib kick is something that I'm not sure hasn't happened in the league. So that's all from the Cardinal side. Basically, he's upset about it. He thinks it was rude and disrespectful. Everybody's held to a high standard, so he thinks the hammer should be put down on the Bills. Caught it with the Bills. Asked about the recent outbursts, what's happened, and there's actually word around the league that he's practicing cheese and glitch plays to win these games, and it started here, and that's why it was like that. He said, why would he game plan for week 1 or for this week, but he didn't week 1 and 2? I said that, or I asked, was there any disrespect before or during the game that you meant to have? And he's told us, the league and the Cardinals privately, there's no intention for disrespect. We go on, people's called timeout in that play that we saw. At that point, beyond, was there meant for disrespect? And then I said, what are your thoughts on losing teams, prolonging the game by calling timeouts and all that, throwing passes incomplete, instead of just running out the clock and moving on? And he responded that it wasn't personal. He would have done the same thing to anybody else. As for the second part, the timeout wasn't meant to prolong the game. It was him wanting the ball back, but he didn't know that. And I asked, so you think it's acceptable to call timeouts when the game's well on hand? There's no chance of winning. He says in that situation. And I said, no, I mean in general, regardless of if they want the ball back, everybody would love to have the ball. But as a whole in PML, is it okay to prolong games and keep those guys in the game longer of a blowout that you just call your timeouts and everything? And he says it depends on the situation. So as you can see, he's deflecting it because the Bills in the past have been known for calling timeout, for the losing team, them doing whatever they want, continue to be aggressive. He's for that. And then once it happened to him, he's using it as an excuse for what he did. So for right now, for week 4, that's all we got. Those are our 2 drama situations going on right now. We have week 5 ahead of us. Have some good games. This is our schedule. On the right is the game of the week nominees. Very, very good games. As you can see, got the Bears and Vikings, Chiefs, Browns, Chargers, Dolphins, Packers, Lions, Redskins, and Bengals. We know Bears are going to win. Could be a toss-up. If Q can play like he does last year, Q could possibly beat Cookie Boy at the Dolphins. We got the Packers, the tank team from last year, playing the Lions. Lions have been playing very, very well. And then we got the NFC East Redskins playing against the Bengals. That will be a very good matchup as well. Tune in. Go follow everybody. PremierMadden.com has everybody's Twitches, I believe, on there, or YouTube's, whatever they're streaming on. Thanks for coming in, watching the video, getting caught up on the news, hear your games. Make sure you pay attention to the Game Streams channel to make sure when games are live. Peace.